Hey everybody, today we're going to put together a VisionCraft station model 10053. It's very important that before you begin, you kind of check through the part list to make sure that you have everything. There's nothing worse than putting it together halfway and realizing that you're missing some parts. Also, you want to make sure that when you do put it together, you want to make sure you carefully read the instructions, or at least follow the diagrams. There's nothing worse that you put something together but you put it upside down or the wrong way. Then you have to take everything apart. So let's begin. The first note is that this bracket here, make sure that the two top holes are facing upwards. Now we have the side stands. For these side stands, make sure for your caster the holes are pointed downwards. So what I've done to make sure that all the parts stay in its appropriate area is cut holes on top. So that way I could just take it out. And as you notice that there's numbers down here that kind of tells you which screws goes where. So let's begin. So again, remember the casters go on the bottom, the holes go on top. What I'm going to do I'm going to get it started, and it comes with an Allen key. So once I get it started on the top and on the bottom, I'm going to use a screwdriver, electric screwdriver, which makes it a lot easier than turning the Allen key. Sounds like the batteries are dying too. So it's very important to note that when you do put this together, don't use a drill. Because I know from past experience, when you use a drill, it's too fast and the torque is too high. Even though you could adjust the torque, there's a risk that you could damage the keys right here and strip it. So you don't want to do that. So stay away from the drill. If you don't have a screwdriver, then what I would suggest you do is just do it by hand. So once you have one leg on, you want to make sure that the second leg that you're going to put on is in the correct position. You want to make sure that you put it in right, not backwards. For instance, this would be backwards right here, if you look at the length of it. So what I'm going to do is flip it around and set it on top like this. So I'm putting the second bolt, carefully hold it so it doesn't fall off the table. Once again, I'm going to pre-thread Sometimes these screws are kind of hard to start off, so what I do is I use an Allen wrench to start it off and start screwing. Okay, you want to be careful you don't over tighten it because you can bend the legs. So I'm going to just tap it off manually like that. So you don't want to over tighten it once again because you can bend the metal. It is hollow. Okay, now we have the hose on top, we have the caster legs on the bottom, and let's put the legs on. So this table does come with two ways of putting on the casters. You can either use rollable casters, or for those that do not or would not like, they're destined to move around. They also have these stationary ones where you could adjust the heights on. I'm going to use the rollable one because it's just so much easier to just move it around the house, because when you rearrange a room, it makes it simpler just to roll it. So there's 4 of these, and the lock mechanism, it comes with two lock mechanism and 2 regular non-locking ones. I'm going to put the locking mechanism up front. It also comes with the wrench. So once again, you don't want to over tighten these, but you don't want to make them too loose. Maybe a 1/4 turn past the tightness to do it. So now that we have all that done, I can flip it around and I can remove the table and put this on a solid platform. Now that I have it on a solid platform, because you don't want this to be rolling off your table when you work on it, and then you could bend something and you're like, oh darn it. So we're going to put these on. And what these are plastic or rubber cushions. Flip it on here and slip it right on top there, just like that. Simple. So the next step is to put these trays together. Now they're somewhat fragile and a real thin piece of plastic, so you want to be careful. And there's a slot here that will fit into right here. So what you want to do when you put it together is make sure you have it on a flat surface. And just kind of wiggle it in, and once it goes in, kind of push it down, and voila. So once you have those trays put together, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on the table frame. So when you look at the table frame, the hinge right here, or this bracket here, will be towards the front. So you want to make sure that that's facing front, and it's important because when you put your trays on, you want to make sure whether you want these holes in the front or facing this way. So what I'm going to do is flip it around, and remember, that's the front. I'm going to put the tray in, and the instruction says let's put these cup holders towards facing the front. So I'm going to do that, and we get these grooves and the brackets. So there's a hole that's going to go under here, and it's going to fit just like that. So what you should do, what I recommend, is that you tighten them all the way down first, and then you unloosen it, because the holes are new, pre-drilled, and you don't want to try to tighten them down with a lot of force, especially with the tray on. So once again, I'm going to tighten them all the way down first, and then back them off. And make sure when you put the screws in that it's straight. Otherwise, they're going to be a little bit more difficult to put it in. Once they're all kind of loose, it's just easier to slip these in and then just tighten it down. Now that we have one side done, I'm going to flip this around and put the other brackets in. So once they're all loose, I'm going to put this aside. The instructions state that you should put this on next. I'm going to wait to do that because I'm thinking about putting some magnets here so I could just snap it on and just take it off. And the reason being is that my daughter's going to use this as a study desk as well. So that way if she does decide to draw on it, she could just put a magnet on and take it off. So the next step I'm going to do is put on these brackets. So I want them on the right side since I am right-handed. So if you take a look at the frame, and the way the desk will be positioned, this will be to my right side. So what I'm going to do is flip this around. And I know that this will be the right side. So what's really interesting I found out is that this hole is really huge. And the screw is really thin. But it is what it is. So once again, I'm going to slip this on. I'm just going to half tighten it, flip it around so you can see. So it does get quite difficult because this top bar does get in the way of a screwdriver, and I could use a smaller one, but I think I get better leverage. So when you put it on, make sure you align it. You don't want to tighten it down like this and try to move it, otherwise you'll scratch the paint. So when you put these screws in, you want to make sure that they are parallel. The one in the back wasn't too parallel, so it becomes a little more difficult to screw in, and you have a chance of stripping the head. So it's a lot of trial and error. Okay, so now that the brackets are in, I'm just going to move this to the side, and once again, it will be towards the right side because I am right-handed. You can put it on the left side if you want because there are pre-drill holes here as well. Next step we have are the drawers. Now I pieced these together just to gauge how difficult they are. And what you need to do is align these clips into this groove over here. Now, it looks easy, but it's really hard because of the fact that the distance between it are very tight. So what you want to do is make sure that the snaps are aligned in. And usually what I try to do is snap one side in first without breaking it. There we go. Now the other side. And what helps is if you could get your finger in the inside groove right here and try and pushing it out a little bit, that helps out. So you see that lip there? We want to make sure that gets fit in perfectly. Once again, I want to make sure that the back is lined up. And voila. Put the drawers in. All you have to do is slide them in. But I'm going to wait until I screw this onto the brackets. And to take them out, you just push this bottom down a little bit. There's 4 holes over here. That what you want to do is line them up with the holes on this bracket, and we just slide it in. And you get the small screws again, and you just tighten up on the holes. Just align it up. Oh, that's not good. And now you don't want to over tighten it since it's plastic. You just want to just snugly put them in so that way you don't strip it out. Because plastic is very soft And if you strip it, it's not going to stay in place, or the screw's going to fall out later. Especially when you open and close the drawer. To get the back side of it, stick your hand in and push it up. And just slowly tighten until it's snug. Final one. Stick your hand in. Try to pre-thread it. You want to make sure it's lined up. This one's having a little bit of difficulty because it wasn't lined up properly. And once again, just do a snug fit. So the next thing I'm going to do is install the left mechanism. And remember, on this frame, these brackets means the front. So this would be the front of the desk like that. And the way I remember it, how to install this, is that this is like a mouth. It's gonna clamp down and get you. And there's only basically one way you can screw this in. There's these wider slots here and the small narrow ones. It's the wider ones that go down here. So all I'm going to do is get the number 24 Allen heads and just start threading. And I'm just going to use the Allen key for this one since it's not that deep. And once again, you don't want to over tighten it. Maybe a quarter turn. I'm going to now put on the trays. So that way, when I put it on last, I don't accidentally hit it and it breaks off since it is made out of plastic. After I have everything all installed. So let's just get that. And I want the cups to be facing towards the front. So remember, we screw these down and we loosen it up a little bit. So it's so much easier just to tighten down. Now I'm going to install the top frame to the base. Now I have the base down. I'm going to set the frame on top. And what you want to do is install the hex nuts into this first before installing in the locking mechanism. So these nuts, they're kind of self-locking because they have a little plastic around here. So what you're going to have to do is either get a crescent wrench or a boxed-in wrench, and it's 11 millimeter. So it makes your job a lot easier. And what you need is a number 20 bolt, and this has a plastic around here, so what it means is that it's a locking mechanism bolt. The washer, which is 21, and the Allen hex bolt, which is 23. So this washer has a smooth side and a groove side. I'm going to put the smooth side facing out. So I saw like that. Put that down. Kind of start it off. And then I'm going to do the other side and tighten it down. Okay, same thing. You kind of line it up. Smooth side facing outwards. And the nut. So you can use a crescent wrench like I said, or an 11 meter boxed in. And when you tighten it, you don't want to over tighten it. So if the bolt doesn't move, if the screw doesn't move, that means you've over tightened. And the reason being is that you want to be able to lift it up and down. Okay. Do the same to the other side. Once again, you do not want them tight. So the next step, what we're going to do is going to put in the locking mechanism. So we need the Phillips screw, which is a 26, and the bolt, which is 19. What you want to do is just lift it up here, align the hose, pop it in like that first. And then just get the screws, stick it under there. And just tighten it up. So I just loosely tighten it so that way if I need to adjust it, I can. It's not too tight, and let's test it out. Perfect. So let it down, you kind of push up, push this down, and to move it all the way down like that. So these, you want to tighten it up, because they're going to be stationary. So once again, tighten it, quarter turn, tighten it, quarter turn. You don't need to put that much force on it. And that's it. The last part would probably be the glass, and I'm going to do that indoors so I don't risk breaking it when everything's put together. So if you're building this outside in the garage or whatnot, I would probably suggest that you do the same thing and put the glass on once you get indoor and you're ready to put it where you need to put it. Now that we have the lifting mechanism on, we're going to put on these glass spacers. There's 4 of them. So you just slip them on here, and let's test out the lift mechanism. So it locks down like that. And to release it, just carefully lift it up and slide it down. And that's it. And that's all we have left is to install the glass top and the pencil edge. And once again, I'm going to try magnets for the pencil edge, since this is going to be used as a study desk as well, and you really don't want your arm resting on this. There's going to be a little bit of uplift from the glass. It might be a little uncomfortable. So what I'm going to do is install magnets for this pencil edge. And the reason why I want magnets on here is so when my daughter studies, she could slide it in, and when she wants to do artwork, she could slide it out. The magnets I bought is from a store called Daiso, and these are what they call super strong magnets. So I'm going to put 4 of them on. I kind of tested it out. You can see the magnets here. I kind of spaced them out. And what I do is I use this silicone called E6000. This is a great silicone because it holds super strong. So all I need to do, put a lid on my finger, see the marker area, put it down like that. And kind of push it down and do a little bit of cleanup. The way I'm aligning these the first magnet is right below the glass spacer. And when that dries, I'll show you the end result. And you don't have to do that. They do have screw holes for the screws, and it's funny about that is that they give you 3 screws, even instruction says it, but there's 4 holes. But that's okay. So if you think that there's 4 screws, don't panic, because there's only 3 that comes with the kit. The last thing we're going to put on is finally the top glass. And we just slip it on, gently on top. And you want to make sure what you're going to mount the hex nuts to is securely set on top of the brackets down there. And make sure you have all your suction cups. And the way I figure it out is that there's this little red tag warning tag. I have that facing towards the back, or the front as I would call it. So these are the hex nuts right here. They're number 25, and I'm just going to use just a simple Allen key because I don't want to break the glass. So once again, the number 25 hex nuts that I'm going to screw in to hold the glass down. And what I'm doing now is just lightly getting it threaded, and just kind of put as much as I can in there, and just use the Allen key to tighten it up. So you don't want it too tight because you could risk breaking the glass. So once again, just a quarter length or a quarter turn, and quarter turn past tight, because you don't want this to be falling off. When you lift the glass up, because a lot of times vibration can cause the screw to get loose. And let's hit the other side. Once again, we thread it in by hand. Get that going. And if the holes aren't lined up, you kind of move the glass back and forth until it all lines up. So that's pretty tight. Quarter turn. And then you should be good to go. Because I put magnets underneath the top frame, what I'm going to do is put contact paper along this bottom flat surface, because the friction of moving it back and forth through the magnet is going to start rubbing off the paint, and I really don't want to have that. Then it kind of looks ugly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to measure it out. So once you have it peeled, you just want to line it up with the top ledge. And stretch it just a little bit. Just like that. And you just work down to get all the air bubbles out. Now if you get air bubbles like that, just peel it off again. Some people say you could use a credit card, but for demonstration it's kind of hard for you to see me putting this on, having a credit card. And that should be it. So once the contact paper is on your pencil ledge, all you have to do is just slip it in. And remember, I started off with the magnet under here and under here. So that kind of lets you know where the center goes. The problem is that if I would have screwed it on, such as that, when I use this as a desk, you can notice that your arm will lay down here, and over a period of time this will start to bend down. So I don't want that to happen. So what I did is I put magnets under here, and my daughter could just slide it in when she's using it as a desk, and slide it out when she lifts the table up. So that way she could just put in her pencil. Now the problem I found out was that this does tend to be unstable. So I got a 3/4 piece of wood, and if I stick it under here like that, it tends to give it more stability. Of course I'll cut it down to size and to make it fit. So that way it doesn't rock up and down. Just move this wood and just show you. Such as that. But as most adults, we're careful anyway, so you might not need it. And if you're done, you just slide it back in. So what I did here was add a 3/4 inch thickness piece of wood, just cut it down to size, so that way it'll keep the rocking minimal. So all you have to do, slip it in here like this, and then it's pretty sturdy now. I mean, the only way you knock it off is you really hit it hard. And when you're done, of course, you just slide it back down here, so that way you have a table. To lift this up, you just gently push up, and you want to make sure that this plastic thing is pushed down so it kind of locks it in place so it doesn't move. Now, to bring it down, what you need to do is lift it up, push this up, and then it slides straight down. So that's how the locking mechanism works. Overall, I do like this table. I do like the fact that they do have caster wheels, so that way if I ever need to move it around the room, all I have to do is unlock them and just roll it around. I also like the fact that it comes with a glass top, which could also be used as a dual-purpose tracing board. And with kids in the house, it's just so much fun to have something where you could trace instead of using the window the old way I used to do it and have the sun shine through and try to trace it. That gets kind of awkward. So I give this table 2 thumbs up and enjoy.